Here we are, another Octoblast as part of our brand marketing month, where we're wandering through all things websites and personal branding, company branding, etc. One of the big things, of course, is websites and social proof. So I'm really chuffed to be joined by my pal Phil Bray of the Yardstick Agency, who's going to talk through some of these issues. Hi, Phil. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
Listen, very, very well. Thanks. Nice to see you, and thanks for taking the time. So, one of the things that, just to kick us off, that I've thought recently, and congratulations, I know you've been involved in lots of award-winning websites, as well as the other work you do. But one of the things that really struck me over the last few years is how financial planners, financial planning practice websites have really come on. In a way that perhaps we almost couldn't have imagined. They look incredibly slick, incredibly professional, lots of social proof. And I guess you're part of that movement, aren't you?
Hopefully play our part a little bit. I think you're right. The websites have come on a lot. I think that's because planners are now understanding the importance of spending time building a compelling shop window. And as we've said umpteen times before, that a potential client first meets their prospective planner on a Google search. Either because they've simply done a brand search, so searching for the name of a firm or the name of a planner after being recommended to them, or they've done a service-based search, financial planner near me. And that Google search results page is where they first meet their prospective planner. The website is where they get to know them. And that's where they start making judgments about whether they're the right planner to solve their trigger at that time. And their trigger is the reason why they've got in touch, the problem they need solving, the aspiration they want to achieve. So I think it's partly because, this increasing quality in planner websites is partly because there's a bunch of people out there now who understand the importance of this. And also understand that it's a relatively small investment for a website that should last, 5 years or so. And actually it wins business. So I think there's definitely a movement to improving the quality of sites and firms just generally improving the quality of their online presence.
Great. And how do you think that's manifested itself? I mean, in terms of, I look back to, there was a big parallax movement for a while. There was it was all about the professional qualifications for a while, whereas now it seems to be very much more about the human side. Is that a fair?
Certainly on the sites we produce. So for me, it's so much about getting a firm's personality through. And also showcasing individuals. There's two groups of individuals who are really important when it comes to financial planning. There's the clients who benefit from it, and there's the team who delivers it. And I deliberately use the word team. It's not just about the planner. It's as much as about the people behind them and who help them deliver. So for me, we need to be showcasing those two groups of people. And websites that do that just engage more. I'll show you an example if you like.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull it up and share the screen. So bear with me. So this is the Smith & Wardle website.
Yep.
Which hopefully you can see now.
I can.
Yep. So don't know why I picked this one, mate. But this happens to be the IFA website of the year 2021, which we're very proud of. And it's Helena and John's website. But for me, the key thing on the homepage is it's all about people. Yeah. So on the first scroll, you go straight into their clients. And one of the things Helena and John did, and we helped them do, was go and take pictures of their clients in their garden. We've got another firm today who the photographer is going around to their clients' gardens to take pictures of their clients, socially distanced, of course. And it's a lovely day for it in the north. But it just brings websites alive, showcasing people. So here we've got people, real clients. This chap was an introducer, but real clients. Scroll down, we've got a video. More social proof here with the voucher ratings and reviews. And then the team. We have fun pictures of the team and more serious pictures of the team. But it's all about personality and it's all about people. And I think it's so important because somebody's coming onto the website. Let me take the screen share off. Somebody's coming onto the website with a trigger. Yeah. And they want to know if that trigger can be solved. And this is the team that can solve that trigger. So do I see people like me? Do I see people that I can engage with? Do I see people that are showing me empathy? Or do we have that hero statement at the top that talks about how financial planning changes lives and people should live their best life, etc.? It bypasses empathy and goes straight for a sale. It comes on too strong, too quickly. Yeah. So for me, it's all about people. It's all about empathy, and it's all about problem solving.
So we agree then. So that's interesting. And what I thought was very, very interesting there was the two shots of the team. You know, the corporate headshot, and then the much more informal, friendly shot, which is something that I've not seen that very often. Typically, you get the corporate headshot of people. So that I think that's incredibly clever.
Yeah, we've used that on a few occasions. I won't embarrass some firms by looking at some of their headshots, but the quality of imagery on a website is so important. And it's not been easy during lockdown. When the best you've been able to get is a picture of somebody with an iPhone up against a wall. It's been quite difficult. But I can think of websites where absolutely the quality of the imagery has just lifted it.
Yeah.
And the words on a website are equally important as the imagery. Some people see imagery, some people see words. So we've got to get both to be as good quality as possible. But a mediocre website can be lifted by putting really good quality photography on there. And in the same way, a really nicely designed site can be dragged down because the quality of photography is poor.
Okay, and that's sort of one of my bugbears, funnily enough. In fact, I wrote about it the other week, is this overuse of the same images that come out of stock imagery. You know, we've all seen some of these pictures so often that they don't even register anymore. They just turn us off. So we don't even read the copy. Is that fair?
Oh, completely. Why does a happy and contented retirement have to be represented and characterized by a grey-haired couple in linen walking down a beach hand in hand?
Yeah, or on a pointing off a yacht. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such a cliche. And whenever we talk a lot to firms about, right, you need to understand your target market before you do anything else. Understand your target market, understand their 3 a.m. moments that keep them awake at night, what gets them out of bed in the morning, and. We all know that sort of stuff. And if you understand your target market, you understand that the majority of them aren't spending most of their time on the beach in the Seychelles, especially not now. Their retirement looks incredibly different. I think to my parents. So my parents are 70, and their ideal holiday is in the UK. Their retirement is spending time with each other, spending time with the grandkids. That sounds like a cliche, but they're doing a couple of school runs a week. Dad does charity work for Rotary, that sort of stuff. That's the sort of thing that interests them.
Yeah.
They'd never wear linen and they'd never walk down a beach hand in hand. Why do we use that to characterize people's retirement? So it's just lazy, cliched stock images, and we're better than that.
Yeah, and we have to be, don't we?
Completely. You've got to separate yourself. You absolutely do.
So if I was coming along to you, Phil, saying it's time for my website to be refreshed, to be completely redone, whatever the question is, we've talked about imagery, we've talked about copy. What else makes for a good website?
I think social proof's incredibly important.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think we can take our lead. I wrote this last week, 2 weeks ago, about the Smith & Wardle website and actually Darren Cook's website at Red Circle.
Yeah.
So I thought in the week that they Smith & Wardle won, I should write a blog about websites. I spent a bit of time looking at the Google Analytics for Red Circle and Smith & Wardle, and looked at the 5 most popular pages on each. And homepage was clearly popular, as you'd expect. That was the entry point for everybody. Team pages was the second, or the About Us in the case of Darren's site. And we need to spend time building team pages, building that section out that shows who the consumer, the potential client, is going to be working with. You've been a financial planner. I was a financial advisor. Never made it to be a planner. But your clients, they tell you, or they told you, really intimate things.
Yeah.
They told you things before they told their spouse in some cases, and they therefore need to know that they can form a bond, they can form a relationship with people. So that's why team pages are really important, but they're so often overlooked. Yeah. I did a review of a website earlier on this week with a firm, not a website we built, but somebody else built it. It's a 2-person firm, and I haven't got a clue who the advisor is. Their pictures aren't on there, their name's not on there. And it's just they've managed to turn a very personable firm and personable service into a really corporate environment, which is not great in my view. So what do consumers want? Well, they want a good quality homepage. They want About Us pages, team pages. They're really popular. Interestingly, client stories pages are important. So they can see people like them.
Yeah.
Testimonial pages are largely pointless.
That's interesting.
The days of anonymous testimonials that says Lee was great are completely pointless. I'm sure you were great, but it's completely pointless. Nobody looks at them. Our research shows only 1 or 2 people out of every 100 actually look at testimonials pages. Pointless. We need to scatter the social proof around the website.
Which was going to be my next question. Would it be better to scatter it through the site? And you just said
100%. So I would always have a client story section, as we've got with the Smith & Wardle website, or Meet Our Client section, and video is always preferable to written content. But we need to take a leaf out of the social media giants. So if you're on Facebook scrolling through, Zuckerberg doesn't put a page of adverts you can go and look at if you choose. You see the adverts in your timeline, don't you?
Yeah.
And some you'll bypass, some you'll look at, and the odd one you'll click. And they make a few quid out of that. And we need to take a leaf out of the social media giants playbook and scatter social proof around the site. So it can be displayed on those most popular pages. And the other really popular page, just getting back to the original question, on both the Smith & Wardle and the Red Circle website, was the fees page. 3rd position, I think, on both, and really, really popular. Now, clearly, I don't know how many of the visitors were actually clients looking at it, and how many were nosy financial planners looking at what their peers might charge. But a bunch of them will be clients. And so we've got to give visitors what they want. And they want a good quality homepage, they want good quality team pages, they want to see who you work with and they can solve those problems. Fees are important, and a good quality contact page.
Okay, so I take the point on fees absolutely, because at the moment there's not that many firms do it, so it's almost a rarity. So there would be a mixture, I'm sure. But I'm interested. One of the pages you didn't mention, and it's become a bit of a thing that many advisors do, is the blog page.
Yes, I need to have a check back on my blog about that actually. But blog pages tend to be in the top 10.
Yeah.
If you think about the journey the consumer takes, the majority of blogs, a blog is written, it's put on the website, you've got a kind of library section on the site. But the majority of consumers are pushed straight to the blog. So the blog might be included in a newsletter, might be included on a social media link. And of course, the consumer's going direct to that blog post to read it. Yeah. They're not going to the blog library section and then selecting which one. So most people are signposted directly to a blog as opposed to the blog section. But of course, people can hit the website and can hit the blog section, that library, and therefore it needs to be kept up to date.
Okay, yeah. Well, that was another thing that is quite hard to do, isn't it? And this is something that came up in the questions that members have been asking me to ask guys like you, is that consistency thing. How do you stay consistent? How do you make sure your blog doesn't go out of date? Beyond the obvious, which is to write more of them. But it's quite a chore for lots of people.
think it is, yeah. So I wrote a piece for Money Marketing, I think, about the two great, the two powers that people need to be great marketers. I think one of them is patience and one of them is consistency.
Right. Okay.
Consistent when it comes to blogs, consistency of quality and consistency of output, with output trumping quality, because we all know that the search for perfection is the enemy of getting things done. So I think for me, now I sell content, so I've got skin in this game.
Yeah.
But if you're going to produce content, and I don't think it's possible to effectively market your business without content, you've got two choices. You can produce it yourself or get someone in your team to do it, or you can outsource it. Now, clearly, if you outsource it and you get the outsource right, you should tick the consistency box and the quality box. If you're going to produce it in-house yourself, I think you've got to enjoy it. It's very difficult. You write a lot and you enjoy it.
I do, actually. Yeah, I do. Despite being quite visual, I like writing. I'm not saying I'm particularly good at it, but I like doing it. And Natalie Illuminate or whoever sort of tidies up for me, I guess.
Absolutely. And so I think for me, if you're going to write content, you're going to do it on a consistent basis. First of all, you've got to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it on a consistent basis. It becomes a chore. You've then got to be disciplined and find the time to do it, and find your happy place to write. So mine used to be Saturday morning in a coffee shop, open the laptop at 8 o'clock and bang out next week's blog for a few hours. Clearly don't do that anymore, although looking forward to getting back to it. Yeah, it's not going to happen right now. But you've got to find, I think, your happy place. You've got to find the place that you want to actually do it. And I would argue that unless you do enjoy it, and you can do it consistently, that actually the financial planner is the wrong person to be writing. So we've got a few clients where we will write their set of, 3 articles a month. And when they're feeling creative and want to do it, they'll just top up with an article here and there. But at least they know that they're getting consistency of output for 3 articles a month. And they don't have that pressure put on them to actually get it out and get it done.
And it is a pressure, isn't it? Because you write for magazines, I write for magazines, and the deadlines come around quick. And I take my hat off to professional writers, because the inspiration for an article doesn't always come around with the deadline. You're kind of crashing around in your head thinking, what can I write about? What can I write about? What have I not written about before? And unless the inspiration from that happy place comes, it is quite a chore.
Yeah, completely. And I don't know about you, but when I do start inspiration strikes, I send myself a little email. I did it this morning, early doors. I was wondering what to write this for Friday. And something popped into my head on the way to work. So I just noted it down on the phone as I was walking in. And I just file it away in a little folder on Outlook. So I've got a kind of reservoir of ideas that I can pull down on when I need them. And that works quite nicely.
Yeah, I'm the same. I use just the most basic thing, which is notes on my iPhone. But if the idea strikes, boom, I just write that thing and what it triggered. Or if I'm on someone else's website, whatever it happens to be, it triggers a thought, I link to it with the word that it had triggered. So it's not that I'm going to lift the copy, but it's obviously triggered a thought process. So I've got this big thing of notes that I can go up and down thinking, oh, that's what I was thinking about there. So I think it's useful, that kind of ideas box, that wherever you keep. A friend of mine uses Google Keep for the same reason. There's all sorts of ways of doing it.
Yeah, and if you don't, you'll forget it. Oh, I will anyway. You've got it when that inspiration strikes. There's different processes of writing, isn't there? You've got the inspiration of what you're going to write about. You then got writing and research, which are 2 different disciplines but equally important. You then got editing, and you should spend broadly the same amount of time editing as writing. And then you've got proofing, which somebody else should do, because you can't proof your own work. So it's different stages. Yeah,
funny enough, I posted on Twitter last week because I'd submitted something to Natalie Illuminate. Despite having edited it and read it, it was only once I'd sent it I saw the typos and grammars. It's because you I think your mind reads what you think you've written.
Completely. And for me, changing the format works. So if I'm writing in, I don't know, Calibri 11, then I can read it and read it and read it. But to really tighten it up, I've got to change the format. So I'll print it out. That works. And I'll see things when I print it out that I won't on the screen. Or I'll change it to a different font size, a different color, and a different font completely. And then I see things as well. So my brain needs the format to change. And when the format changes, I see different things.
See that? Thank you. That's another really good tip. Another tip that was given to me on Twitter after I tweeted that was they get Microsoft Word to read it to them, and they hear the errors when Microsoft reads it back to them. So I guess there are all these tips and tricks.
Yeah, absolutely. And reading it out aloud to yourself works as well. I think for me, reading it out aloud helps you understand whether the structure of the sentence is simple enough or is too complex. But it isn't good enough just to have it on the screen. For me, you've got to change the format to really tighten the writing, and that's even different to proofing it.
Yeah.
So we've hired proofreader.
Right.
The whole job is to edit and proof content. That's how important it is that we've got somebody whose dedicated job is in the team to do that.
Great, thank you. Just before we move on to social proof, because that's an area that I'm fascinated by. Is there a danger? And I say this with all respect because you've got skin in this game, as you said. Is there a danger if you subcontract writing that you begin to lose your brand tone of voice, or how do you make sure that you keep control of that? Because everyone sounds slightly differently.
I agree completely. And yeah, there is always that danger. For me, you get over it with the quality of the brief, the quality of the writer, and the partnership between, in our case, the client, the planner, and then the writer here. Yeah. And we absolutely will always try and capture that firm's tone of voice. And one of the simplest ways of doing it, people talk about, I'm not a writer, I can't write. Well, anyone can write, you just got to write how you talk. And the most authentic way of writing is to write how you talk. So if the writer that you subcontract the work out to do is good, they won't find it particularly difficult to get in your head and use your tone of phrase, your tonality, the words that you use, etc. I think it's relatively straightforward for a good quality writer to do.
Great, thank you. So moving on from there, social proof. I mean, you and I have spoken about this loads of times, and there are ways of doing it. You know, there's we've talked about testimonials, we've talked about things like Trustpilot and Vouch for and other stuff. Just how important do you think social proof is?
I think it's incredibly important. Which is more powerful, to tell somebody that you're good or to show them evidence?
Yeah.
That is far more powerful than that. And for me, there's 3 types of social proof that we should be collecting and that we help firms to collect. But the short answer is, I think it's incredibly powerful. People need to engage with it for it to be powerful. But it is so much more, it's going to hit home so much more showing people evidence than telling them.
Great. The ways that you favor in terms of getting that message out, measuring it, sort of proving it?
So I think there's 3. There's 3 social proof boxes that we like to tick. The first, I say no particular order. I probably don't mean that. So I would say that kind of equal second would be online ratings and reviews and client surveys. So online ratings and reviews, big fan of getting your clients to give you ratings and reviews and ongoing feedback in public. Too many firms do client surveys after they've onboarded a client or after an annual review. Surveys are driven by compliance. Nobody completes them. And they're completely pointless. So we should be collecting ongoing social proof in public. So when people are walking towards the planner's door, they see it. And we've done a lot of work on this. And our 2 preferred platforms are Google and Vouch for. Google, because when someone runs a brand search, the Google My Business listing pops up on the top right-hand corner, and it's quite impressive to show ratings and reviews there. It has a marginal SEO benefit. It works in Google Places. You can import them into your website. Just Google, that's the first place. Second thing, vouched for. And we need to change how we think about vouched for. It is not a peer or competitor to Unbiased. It is first and foremost online reputational management. So TripAdvisor for financial planners, essentially. And reasons why we like it. If someone does a brand search for Helena Wardle from Smith & Wardle, the Google My Business listing won't come up, but her vouched for profile will. We can use the great little widgets and tools that vouched for provide on the website. They've got the Times Top Rated Guide, SEO benefits as well. And of course, it will produce inquiries during the year to a degree. So ratings and reviews for me, not a fan of other platforms. I would go Google and vouched for.
Okay. You would just disregard the others, would you?
Yeah. Yeah, frankly. And yeah, I would. I think those two are too powerful to ignore. And I think you've got to be a bit careful about asking clients to do too much.
Yeah.
So second equal to that would be client surveys. I said don't do client surveys for me when you onboard a client. I would do them at fixed points.
Right.
So we might do, a financial planner might say, we do our client surveys every year in January or every other year in January. So you can measure change from one fixed point to another. And those client surveys should produce some fantastic results that can be used in marketing. They should obviously help the firm understand what is working in the business and what isn't. But they should produce just really little nuggets that can be used in marketing. For example, I'm going to share my screen again in a second, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
And one of the questions we always ask the kind of pseudo proxy net promoter score question, would you recommend us to other people? But we ask a really open question. What's the biggest benefit you get from working with us? We don't give any prompts, and we just ask that question. And I did a little word cloud for a firm that we did a client survey for last week. Can you see the word cloud?
I can.
Yeah. So it's not hard to see where the value lies, is it? Peace of mind. Yeah. Peace of mind, clarity, confidence, reassurance. Investment strategies in there a little bit, but it smacks you between the eyes where clients get the value from. So client surveys come up with some great stuff like that you can use in your online marketing and just marketing generally.
Yeah, and that kind of that tone of voice.
100%, yeah. And then lastly, so those two are equal on the silver step. Lastly, for me, client videos.
Yeah.
Nothing beats somebody telling their story. And I've interviewed maybe 70, 80 consumers over the past year as we've been building client videos for firms that we work with. And they all have fantastic stories to tell. I mean, it's a pre-selected group, isn't it, obviously? But they all have fantastic stories to tell. There's always a line in there that's great. So, for example, I remember asking one client of a financial planner, would you recommend this financial planner? And her answer was great. She thought about it for a second and she said, absolutely, because recommending my financial planner is like a gift I can keep giving to my friends.
Wow.
If they can get the peace of mind that I get, it's like a gift I can keep giving. It's a fantastic line. And it made the final edit, unsurprisingly. But you hear lines like that all the time. I interviewed someone last week. They were 53-ish, I guess. I'm going to retire at 55, no question. And retiring at 55, it's not that easy to do.
No.
And great lines. Without our financial planner, there's no way we'd be retiring at 55. Financial planners given them 10, 15 years of just great time, great memories, and probably extended their life by the fact they're retiring early.
Yeah.
So for me, client videos would be on the gold step, and ratings and reviews and client stories on the silver step.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So as we wander towards the end, Phil, if you don't mind, 2 or 3 quick fire questions. Answer as short or as long as you want, or pass if you don't. These have really come in from members. I've been quietly canvassing members and they've come up with some questions. First one is there any colours that should never be gone near on a website?
No. Colour combinations, maybe, but not colours, I don't think.
Okay. Is there a particular time of week that tends to work best for communications and messaging?
Depends on whether you're doing B2B or B2C. And we're doing some research on it now. So I will take the 5th and come back to you on that one.
Perfect. Okay. What's the worst mistake you see on a website?
Oh, geez. Wow. Only one.
Well, list them if you wish.
Oh, man. Lacking empathy.
Yeah.
That's massively important. Not putting those 2 groups of people on there, clients and the people who deliver. And a complete lack of social proof. You see so many sites that just make no effort to prove they do a great job for their client.
Mm.
And I could go on forever, but I'll go with those 3.
Brilliant, thank you. So final question, and this is one that I love asking. Is there a particular touchstone or phrase or mantra that you like to bring to your marketing work, which is, exemplary, award-winning, etc.? Is there a particular watchword that drives right through your firm like a stick of rock?
I think for us, I don't think it applies to financial planners, but for us, it's the fact we do our work in public. So everything we do is in public. The Smith & Wardle website, our logo is on the bottom. So if someone likes it, they know we've developed it. If someone doesn't like it, they developed it. So I talk a lot to the people here about us ticking 3 boxes: quality, value, and on time. But essentially, the most important thing is that we've got to remember that we're doing our work in public. And if we do our work well, more people will benefit from the life-changing effects of financial planning. So that's essentially what I want us to remember. Do our work well in public, more people benefit from life-changing financial planning.
Brilliant. Listen, for a largely financial planning audience, what a great session. Thank you, Phil. I really appreciate your time. Great to talk to you as usual.
Loved it. Cheers, mate. See you soon.